So I welcome you all, especially the students of, I think it is Sarudze College under Royal University of Bhutan. So in Bhutanese, I think it is Kujung Pola. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Kuju Jangpola.
So Kujung Pola, and it is very happy to be along with you all and communicated with Professor Bimal sir and now Nidup sir. We are connecting. So today I'll be delivering the topic that is related to the ecosystem and its management. I think it is coming into your screen. Mainly the ecosystem. When we talk about the ecosystem, it is one of the very important part of ecology, and mainly we people are living in the, we can say, in the heaven of that particular ecosystem, and we are living in the Eastern Himalaya. That's why the importance becomes more. So let us, without wasting any time, we will be continuing with the topic. Mainly, the topic today we'll be discussing. It will be certain outcomes. It will be there, learning outcomes. What you will be knowing about this. Mainly, you will be understanding the terminology of ecosystem, and it will give you the basic idea about the types of ecosystem, to understand the ecosystem structure, understand the ecosystem functions, to learn the ecosystem dynamics, how the particular ecosystem it run actually, how the energy flow it occurs. Also, the understand the ecological energetics, the energy flow that it maintains in a particular ecosystem. As we know, whenever we are talking about the ecosystem, it is the term is very simple, but that phenomena, how it works, it is really we need to understand it better. So my request to students, on the way you can write some questions also. Later we will be discussing about this, some points that I will be delivering here. So these are the learning outcomes. Mainly we'll be discussing about the terminology of ecosystem. What is actually ecosystem? It is the term ecosystem. It was first coined by Sir Arthur Townsley in the year 1935, and later the term was more quantified by E.P. Odum, one of the ecologists, the pioneer in ecologists, and J.M. Till. They quantify ecosystem in terms of energy fluxes, how the energy it transfers in the particular ecosystem. So that the term was coined by Townsley. Here the term ecosystem, mainly it has two parts, and these two parts are, eco means the oikos in Greek. The oikos, it means the home, where we live, where we means where we dwell, our shelter, where we take place. And the system, it comes from the word systema, which means the function. And that is why the word it is ecosystem, it is there. The definition of ecosystem, an ecosystem, that is it is a functional unit of nature where the organisms it mainly interact among themselves, the way the organisms they interact among themselves, and ultimately it mixes or it reacts with the physical environment where it is found, and also with the surrounding that particular environment. If we see in the figure, the ecosystem is there. How in a particular ecosystem, the plants, animals, and different other groups of organisms, they are correlated with each other. In our earth, it is very important to understand the ecosystem, because these ecosystems are very dynamic and they are correlated, they are interacting with each other. The human being cannot live without nature. The plants also cannot live without human being or other organisms. Both are interacting. So that is what the main definition behind the ecosystem. And it is one of the functional unit of that particular nature. Generally, you may be knowing the different types of ecosystem that we have. The first one is the terrestrial ecosystem. Second one is the aquatic ecosystem. And the third one is the man-made ecosystem. That present day, whatever we are saying, now we are talking about by using this internet connectivity, that is also an ecosystem, techno ecosystem. So such types of three ecosystems are there. That is the terrestrial, aquatic, and the man-made ecosystems. Here, the terrestrial ecosystem, when we talk about the terrestrial ecosystem, mainly it is representing the forest, the tree covers, the grassland, small plants and all, and the deserts. Mainly, it appears on the land surface of the earth in the lithosphere. And ultimately, there's different ecosystems that we can see in the picture. These are the part of those ecosystems where the connectivity interaction is going. Might be it is not visible through our eyes, but the terrestrial ecosystem in between a particular forest, in a particular grassland. If we talk about grassland, a lot of organisms are there. It is not like that only grasses are there. Small ants are there. Some herbivorous animals are there. Some microorganisms are there. So ultimately, it contains the interaction of different types of organisms that we can see. These are the images. Mainly, it is the images are taken from the you might be knowing near Kokrajhar only, where near Kokrajhar, my research area, that site I have collected. The second one is the aquatic ecosystem. Mainly, it is referring to the pond, aquifer, river, estuary, etc. So these are the different types of aquatic ecosystems. In the picture you have seen in the left side, it is the picture from a freshwater lake. So that is also one of the very important ecosystem that we are having in our nature, in our environment, because it can have a lot of influence on other organisms, not only in terms of fishes and all. You have seen the birds are there, aquatic birds are there, migratory birds are there. Every year, thousands of millions of migratory birds are there in the lowland of Bhutan area, near that borderland area. Every year, in those wetlands, you will see lot of this migratory birds as well as aquatic birds. It comes into that particular places. Why? There is some interaction. That is what we are talking about, the aquatic ecosystem. Similarly, aquifer, the right in the bottom part, right photo, the bottom photo that is taken from the internet, you have seen the photo is having the aquifer, that is the wetland area in the hills or the mountains. Might be you have seen in Bhutan also, in Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Meghalaya, in lot of places we have the freshwater lakes. These are known as aquifers. Small lakes are there, and these aquifers are very much interacting with the in and around organisms, and that is what we are talking about, the aquatic ecosystem. Next one is the man-made ecosystem, the agricultural crop field, that present day what we have, and the people mainly we are depending upon the agriculture. Either it may be a fishery farm, either it may be a particular crop field also, where we are growing our cultivations, where we are growing our food crops. Also, some of the artificial, there's other types of this man-made ecosystems are there, like aquarium, fish aquarium we are building. Lot of ornamental fishes are there, and we are keeping in artificial environment. That is also what the man-made ecosystem. And we have seen the dams are there, mainly for our electricity purpose. We are making big dams, hydroelectricity power projects. So these are creating after, means when they are started, no doubt we have a lot of this means we are destructing our forest, we are cutting land area. So ultimately it is disturbing that particular ecosystem. Side by side, it is converted from those natural ecosystem to the artificial ecosystem. Those are when the natural ecosystems are converted into artificial ecosystem, that is known as what? The man-made ecosystems. Or sometimes we are taking some of the animals and taking it into the zoo, into some other we can say in our homes also, like aquarium fishes we are taking, some dogs, pets we are taking into our homes. So ultimately this we are keeping certain organisms in a particular man-made ecosystem. Then another part in terms of this ecosystem type is this ecosystem structure and function. The ecosystem is always depending upon its structure. Different structures are there. In an ecosystem, the interaction of biotic and abiotic component it occurs. As we know, every time the biotic occurs, mainly the biotic components, what? They are the living organisms like the plants, animals, and the microorganisms. And the abiotic, what are the abiotic factors? The light, the sunlight that we are getting from the sun, soil where we are living, water, air, and the heat also. That heat radiation during the summer season, whatever the heat we are facing, that also the part of this ecosystem structure. The ecosystem have no particular size. So sometimes many questions it has been asked that there is any limit of this ecosystems, but it is not there. When we are talking about the ecosystem, they do not have any limited size. It may be very smaller. It may be in the bird nest also, in a particular tree also, or it may be like one of the big lakes, lagoons, or a big mountain also. So next is the structure. What is that particular biotic and abiotic community? We always making them into different layers. These layers are known as stratification. The vertical distribution of different species occurs different level is known as what? The stratification. We can divide that particular level of community, biotic community, as well as this community in different levels. That is known as the ecosystem stratification or the layer. For example, the tree occupies the top vertical strata. If you see in the picture, the tree is occupying, because of its size and the height, it is occupying the top layer of a particular forest. Then second one is the shrubs, so small plants and all. And the second layer, and the herbs and grasses occupies the bottom layer. Those herbal plants and all those plants, they occupies the bottom layer. And ultimately, these stratifications are there. And these stratifications are interacting in a particular ecosystem, which makes the ecosystem a different one. Some of the examples that is we see ecosystem in different places, that is like the agro ecosystems are there, where agricultural works are there. It relates to the formation of agro, that is the agro ecosystem. Then aquatic ecosystem, coral reef nearby coastal area, where the mainland it interacts with the beaches and all, or the ocean water. Coral reefs are there. Desert, forest, marine ecosystem, prairies, South America, mostly in the American and Australian, they have the prairie, rainforest, Amazon, savanna, steppe, taiga, tundra. So these are the different types of and the different varieties of ecosystems are there. And present day, we have the urban ecosystem, that where our townships are coming up, new town systems are coming up. Urbanization, people are mainly fond of cities. People are visiting cities, living there, earning monies. So these are also creating a urban ecosystem. So different types of ecosystems are there, and ultimately the interaction phenomena among them are also different. Somewhere it is very good, somewhere it is disturbed. Then the ecosystem dynamics. When we talk about the ecosystem dynamics, it is the when a new biotic or abiotic elements it enters into a ecosystem, they cause an interruption. So it is the phenomena of that particular ecosystem that the dynamics and dynamic activity, certain activity it occurs. It's like the football. If one goal one team has given into another team, then suddenly you see some reactions will be there from the opposite, those that team which has got the goal actually. So opposite reaction will be there. That reaction is known as ecosystem dynamics. If the ecosystem is disturbed or it is interrupted by any artificial or abiotic elements, so ultimately they react. That is what the ecosystem dynamics. Ecosystems are capable of protecting themselves. So it is very huge thing that might be now, you know about the corona disease and all. People are living inside the homes. We people are inside the homes. Why? It is because of one microbe. Okay, it is so minute. If you calculate the whole microbes of the whole earth, it will less than 1 microgram. So they have kept the humans inside home. So that is also an ecosystem where the earth is insisting that we should not destroy our ecosystems. So any toxicity level is there. We people are making industries, factories. We are releasing pollution into our environment. So ultimately, this toxicity level, in case of the ecosystems, they are further reacted by the ecosystem. The ecosystem can give us the reply, the perfect reply. That is what they have the dynamics, they have the energy. The organisms survived despite continuous change in the natural selection and invasion, but they had to adapt new conditions. Changes are always gradual, as we see in the statement it is given here. So whenever we know in our nature, the changes are taking place, it is gradual, sometimes it is too fast also, but mostly it is gradual. In ecosystem, in nature, it is always gradual. Some species even disappear and new ones comes in. We know thousands of new species are being describing nowadays. A lot of new species in terms of fish, in terms of frogs, amphibians, in terms of reptiles, new species are coming up. So ultimately, these are newly species appearing also, and side by side, because of the nature, it is the ecosystem dynamics, some of the species are extinct. It may be because of the humans. It may be because of the artificial ecosystem that we are making. But these ecosystems are more resilient, means they can fight upon, they can regrow. The next is the function of an ecosystem. How does the ecosystem it functions? This is one of the most important part of an ecosystem, that how it is functioning actually. So mainly the ecosystem, it drives an ecosystem on the basis of its productivity. Number one is the productivity, the production, or that how it occurs. Second one is the decomposition. The decomposition means how the whatever the that particular elements or the organism it is growing on, after some time we have means mortality, or with the it is in our nature that every organism they have to die. We are the part of some chemical elements only. Our body is also chemical element, and ultimately after our death it will decompose or it will be mixed with the soil. It will become nutrients again. So that is what we are talking about, the decomposition. Third one is the energy flow. During this productivity and decomposition, the third process it occurs that is known as energy flow. The continuous energy flow is there. Means energy flow from one group of organism to another group of organism. For example, in terms of human being, just within our home, we are also, we are because of our father and mother, they have given us the birth. So ultimately we are taking what? That energy we have taken, it is from our parents only. It is we are taking it is from our nature only. We are eating lot of food. Every time we are drinking, every time we are taking food, these food materials are what? Energy only. That energy is given by the green plant. So interaction is there. And the fourth one is the nutrient cycle. That cycle is very important. The nutrient cycling. The organism it grows, intaking lot of nutrients, those micronutrients and the macronutrients. Then they grow up to a maximum level. After that is it disease, organ failure it occurs. Every organism, not only in case of human being, it is in case of a plant also, or a big tree also. After 100 years, after 200 years, a big tree also it have to die. So that is what the part of that nutrient cycle. We are releasing certain waste material from the body. That is also the food for the some other organism. It may be food for the microbes and all. It may be nutrients for the soil organisms and all, whatever the organism that is found in our soils and all. Example that how the energy flows in a particular ecosystem. That example, it is given as the aquatic ecosystem, the pond. It is given a pond. You may be knowing, and mostly in the floodplain area, we have a lot of ponds are there. Every home, in front of their home, ponds are there, and where the fishes are there, crabs are there, like this type of different aquatic organisms we are keeping. Generally, a pond is a shallow, simple, self-sustainable water body that exhibits basic components of an ecosystem. So this is the example only. Abiotic components in pond. What are those abiotic components? Water and the soil deposit at the bottom. So mainly, whatever in a pond, always we are thinking about the fish, or frogs, or crabs. But it is not like that. If we think about the life science student, we have to think about that particular water. What is the water quality? And the soil where the pond it is, that is very important. You cannot find a pond or a lake everywhere. It is depending upon the quality of the soil. So that soil and water deposit at the bottom, and the climatic conditions. If rainfall is not occurring in a particular place, then there will be no pond, no lake. The rainfall is also one of the very important. The solar input, the temperature variation. You cannot find too much big reservoir in desert ecosystem. In desert ecosystem, you cannot find any pond. Why? It is because of the soil. It is because of that layer. It is sandy. It cannot retain the water. So that is what we are talking about, the interactions between the biotic and the abiotic. Another components are there, autotrophic components. That is the phytoplanktons. We know about the phytoplankton, zooplankton. Those organisms that are found in water, they are known as phytoplankton. Mostly the algae, diatoms, and different other types of aquatic microorganisms are there, which are known as phytoplanktons. Some are known as, another known as zooplanktons. Those animals or the living creatures that are microbial in nature, which are found in the pond water, and they are known as the consumers. They are using the autotrophs or the phytoplanktons. You see why the color of the ocean is blue? So that is because of the, it is because of the, similarly in our pond aquatic ecosystems also, a lot of these organisms are there. Next one, in that particular pond, decomposers are there. What are those decomposers? In those pond water, you will see are there. What is their role? After the death of those micro, means primary or autotrophic and the heterotrophic organisms, they are decomposed by this fungus and the bacteria present in those water bodies. The consumption of this autotrophs by heterotrophs is very important. Every cycle it is occurring, and that cycle is important. That the energy is transferred from one organism, group of organism to another. That is from the primary level to the secondary to the tertiary. The decomposition and mineralization of dead matter release them for the reuse of autotrophs. This is the picture of a particular ecosystem. It is there. If we see that pond ecosystem, it is in the bottom. You see the soil layer is there, but the plant pockets are there. So there on mainly these organisms they are surviving, and ultimately in the above parts, mostly those aquatic organisms are there. Phytoplanktons are there, zooplanktons are there, small fishes are there, larger size fishes are there. You know about the food chain. So that food chain is well maintained in a particular pond ecosystem. What is productivity? That is related to the, that example is one of the productivity. A constant input of solar energy is the basic requirement in any ecosystem to function and sustain. Why we worship our sun, moon? It is because of that solar energy. Might be mythologically they have different logics, but according to life science, it is the source of energy that we are intaking from the sun. The amount of biomass or organic matter produced per unit area over a time period. So here now we are coming into the scientific depth, that how much it is expressed in terms of weight gram per square gram, or energy, that is kilocalorie per square meter. Might be you have seen grasslands, grasses nearby your homes. So in 1 square meter area, what will be the plants are there? They will be ensuring certain amount of energy. That is productivity. Suppose in your home 20 trees are there, that is the productivity of your ecosystem. Why? Because it is giving you the oxygen, it is giving you the nutrients, it is giving you the food, fruits in the form of fruits. So that is what we are talking about, the productivity. Sometimes we may think, what is the value of the grasses? But these grasses are also the food for some of the herbivores. So for them, the energy is measured in kilocalorie per square meter. The rate of biomass production is called productivity. So at the rate biomass production is measured, that is known as productivity. In desert, it is zero, almost zero. And that is the reason why organisms are not there. It is expressed in terms of per square gram or per year or kilocalorie per square. These are the units actually. It is nothing but the units to measure the productivity. Second one is the net productivity. What is that productivity that we are using? That is what the net productivity, gross primary product. It is the rate of production of organic matter in our homes. Suppose we have the kitchen garden, we have planted tomato plants, lot of tomato plants are there. So those plants will produce after 2 months, 3 months, they will produce tomato. So that tomato will be the gross primary productivity. Then when those tomatoes we will be eating, we the human being or other organisms will be eating, will be intaking some amount, then certain waste will be there. That waste will be minus, or it will be in the form of waste, or that is net productivity is gross productivity minus respiration. R is represent here as respiration losses, that whatever the energy we lose into our nature, or the waste material that we are losing into our nature, that is productivity. Primary productivity, it depends upon these three factors. That is, environmental factors are there. In Bhutan, you have the different environmental factor. In India, in southern India, different environmental factors. Western India, they have the different environmental factors. Nutrients available in a system, that is very important for net productivity. Photosynthetic capacity of the plants. Next one is the decomposition. It is the breakdown. So as we already we have discussed, that certain decomposers are there, like fungus, the mushrooms, bacteria, nitrosomonas bacteria that are found in the plant noodles, root noodles. So they are absorbing the nitrogen. So they are also playing the major role in terms of decomposition. When a particular organism it dies, the body it decomposes, the body tissue it decomposes. Go much more depth into this. Some of the of organisms that occur in a particular ecosystem. Number one is the fragmentation, just breakdown of the detritus into smaller that is participants, that is detritivores. Example, earthworms. They are very much capable of fragmenting the particular set of the detritus or the organisms. Leaching, the water soluble inorganic nutrients go down into the soil. Catabolism, degradation of detritus into simpler inorganic substance by bacterial and fungal enzymes. You may be knowing later on that how bacteria and fungi, they are producing certain enzymes. Enzymes are the biocatalysts. So these enzymes are capable of degrading or breakdown of certain molecules. So catabolism, that activity also occurs in our ecosystem. Humification, accumulation of humus. The plant leaves falling down onto the earth, they are also creating a huge restoration of the ecosystem. And the last one is the mineralization. It is release of inorganic nutrients due to the degradation of humus or some microbes. After the death of the organisms, they are eaten up by the microbes. Then those microbes converting them back into nutrients. So these are the 5 processes that occurs mainly in terms of decomposition. Then the last one is the energy flow. That is with the help of nutrient cycle it is occurring. The energy flow, it is the source of energy is our sun. The incident solar radiation, less than 50% of it is photosynthetically active radiation. So that is PAR is very important. Whatever the solar radiation it is entering into the Earth's surface, only 50% it is used for the photosynthetic. Rest it is for the different types of activities, that is the heating, thermal, lot of other activities it occurs. The plants and photosynthetic and chemosynthetic bacteria autotroph fix solar radiant energy to make food. So these are the energy flow, how they are maintained. The energy flow, the source is our sun, and ultimately it is maintained by the biotic communities present in the ecosystem. The nutrient cycle, all living things need energy in an ecosystem. The source of energy are mainly the producers which produce the energy. Second one is the consumers. The next group is the consumers. Producer is one, consumers are more. So these are also 3 groups you know very well, that is herbivorous, carnivorous, and the omnivorous. So mainly you see why the trees are so important, why in our nature forestry is so important, because it becomes the part of the producer group. They are autotrophic. And you see the consumers, how much the consumers are there. It is in the different form, and that's why the pressure always on the producers. Decomposers are the plants and animals that break down into plants and animals into organic materials which go back to the soil. The living being also need water with their habitat. Their needs are met through water cycle. Energy and water are vital to the survival of an ecosystem. As we see in the image, how the solar energy, it is being, how it is means interacting, the interaction between the producers, consumers, and the decomposers it occurs. That is what we are talking about, the nutrient cycle. That is happening. In between, the decomposers are there, small group of microorganisms are there, small insects may be there, fungus, bacteria. Then consumers are there, like we are the consumers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers are there. Then the producers are always the green plants. And the exchange of energy it takes place. That is what we are talking about, the nutrient cycle. Example, in terms of the food chain, the grazing food chain, GFC, that is the grass. Very simply, I have given here the grass, goat, and the mane. So here the producer is the goat is the primary consumer, and the mane is the secondary consumer. So ultimately, that relationship is there. Then the second one is the detritus food chain, DFC. It begins with dead organic matter. It is made of decomposers, saprotrophs. We know about saprotrophic organisms. Those can decompose the living matter or other microorganisms or other organisms, we can say. Example, fungi and bacteria. So those group of organisms, they perform in the detritus food chain. They meet their energy and nutrients requirements by degrading dead organic matter or detritus. Then the third one is the multiple food chain or MFC. It is also known as, it leads to the formation of food web. The primary and the food web, it contains the primary producer, the first trophic level. Trophic level means the nutrition level. Trophic, it refers to the nutrition level. So that nutrition level is the plants. It in, for example, phytoplankton, grasses, trees, zooplanktons. In case of the primary consumer, or it is belong to the second trophic level. Then secondary consumer, third trophic level, example, bird, fishes, wolf. Then the tertiary consumer, fourth trophic level, top carnivorous, man, lion, those who are eating everything. Then the next one is the ecological energetics. This is also another important part of the ecosystem. The ecological pyramids are there. So I will not go much into the depth of this ecological, a lot of this definitions are there, a lot of functions are there. Just basically I will be giving the representation of a food chain in the form of pyramid is ecological pyramid. Whatever the energy flow it occurs, when we are representing it in the form of pyramid, it is known as ecology. It is mainly of 3 types. the pyramid of number, the pyramid of biomass, the pyramid of energy. When we are representing a particular ecological or the ecosystem pyramid in terms of the number or the population, that in terms of the population, it is known as pyramid of number. It shares the energy flow, example, grass ecosystem and all. And then the pyramid of biomass, it shows a sharp decrease of biomass at higher trophic level, inverted pyramid of biomass. So ultimately, at the top, it is pointed. Then the next one is the pyramid of energy. At the energy level, from one trophic level to another trophic level, primary producers convert only 1% of the energy into the sunlight available to them, that is in the form of net productivity. The ecological limitations of ecological pyramids, mainly it does not take into account the same that particular belonging to or more trophic levels. It assumes a simple food chain, almost like the simple food chain only. Saprophytes are not included in ecological pyramids, even though they play a vital role in the ecosystem. So there are certain limitations are there in terms of ecological pyramids. There are threats to ecosystem. So till now we have discussed about the ecosystem. What is ecosystem? Now the next is the what? It is the threats that we are found in terms of the ecosystem. Mainly we are the human being, we are causing a huge deforestation. That is deforestation in large scales, cutting down of trees, building of dams, heavy urban constructions, solid waste like plastics and junk irons, like old vehicles and all, old bikes and all. We are always keeping it somewhere. Setting up of industries. So these are the different types of threats for our ecosystem that it is occurring mainly in terms of the which are causing damage to our particular ecosystem. When the threat it occurs, it leads to certain ecosystem disturbances. What are those consequences? For example, human-animal conflict. For example, the Manas, Royal Manas you have. In our Northeast India, in Assam, we have the Manas. And it is mainly the habitat of the golden langur earlier. Now it becomes very rare. Why it is becoming affected? It is because of the anthropogenic disturbances that has occurred in the Assam side. Mostly we people are cutting those trees. Those were the habitat for the golden langurs. So those golden langurs are now, it is in rare endangered species now. So ultimately, why it becomes endangered? It is because of the anthropogenic activity or cutting down of the trees. It leads to the, and some of the habitats we have destructed, those are the, for example, the elephant habitat. We are cleaning up the forest, ultimately it disturbs the habitat. So ultimately, we can see a huge disturbance it is there in terms of the temperature. That temperature rise also. If we compare the temperature, average temperature in 1980 and 2020, within this 40 years, almost 4 degree, 3 to 4 degree it has risen up. So that is what the temperature rise it is occurring because of this activity. Vegetation loss and loss of species diversity. Disturbed rainfall, the rainfall, monsoon rainfall we are talking about, the rainfall that is occurring, that's also disturbed. Sometimes it is too heavy, sometimes it is less, scanty. Scarcity of agricultural products, fishery and food crops. Because of this ecosystem disturbance, the fishery has affected. Food crops, agricultural crop field are being affected. The crop field are being losing its fertility. So how we can retain this fertility in ecological, that particular system of agriculture in terms of those agricultural crop fields. So here mainly we have discussed about the consequences of the ecosystem disturbance. Now I will like to give you some of the points that is collected from CPEP, the one report it is there, that what is Eastern Himalaya, what we are talking about the Eastern Himalaya, the ecosystem profile of the that particular Eastern Himalaya, it is very important. It comes from that, we know this Nepal, Eastern Himalaya, from Nepal, that is from the Terai region to the Sikkim, and Bhutan, Arunachal Pradesh. The profiles are what? Mainly that profile it gives the ecosystem. These are very much similar in conditions. Our ecosystem in this northeastern region or this eastern part of Himalaya is similar. Why we need to procure it? Why we need to save it? Because you see, in terms of the critically endangered species in this eastern Himalaya, we have the 14 critically endangered species are there. Then endangered species 46 are there. Vulnerable 102 species are there. So a total of 163 threatened animals are found in these ecosystems, which are very rare and endangered. So we need to save this. Not only say here, mammals are there, birds are there, reptiles are there, amphibians are there, invertebrates are there, and the plants are there. Not only I'm talking about the animals, plants are there, orchids are there. There's different groups of ornamental plants, crop plants, rich variety of medicinal plants are found in this region only, Eastern Himalaya. So that's why these ecosystems are very unique. And if we see the distribution by the country, in Bhutan, you see 49 are there total. This threatened or this mammals, plants 7, invertebrates 2, amphibian 1, reptiles are not there, birds 12, and mammals are 27. Itself in your country, you see, so rich it is there. Then the Nepal and the northeast part of India, in our place, it is around 146. So ultimately, these regions are very similar ecosystem, and they are giving us a huge responsibility that we need to save these ecosystems. A total of 175 key biodiversity areas were identified in eastern Himalayan regions by CEPF, that organization which is working for the critical and ecosystem profile. That is in case of the eastern Himalaya, that according to that reports, around 170 key biodiversity spots are there, not so small. Means in itself, I think in Bhutan more than 50 biodiversity spots are there in Bhutan itself. In Assam itself, in the northeastern part, more than 200 more than 114, yes, 114 biodiversity small spots are there, where organisms are found at large numbers. The 5 priority corridors are there. Along with this ecosystem profile, you see Terai arc landscape, it is there. That is ranging from the Nepal, below that Garhwal Himalayas to, that is from that part of Nepal up to Sikkim. That is what Terai arc landscape. Then your country, the Bhutan Biological Conservation Complex, that is also another ecosystem profile has mentioned. The Bhutan Biological Conservation Complex is there. The Kanchenjunga Singalila complex, that is in the northern part of Assam, we can say, where the Kaziranga National Park is there. In the upper Assam part of northeast India, in Assam state, it is there. The Kaziranga Karbi Anglong, the southern part of Assam, that is Kaziranga Karbi Anglong landscape. That is also the part of the corridors, that is the ecosystem corridors are there. And the North Bank landscape, that is in the Barak Valley and all, up to Manipur and all this. These places are unique ecosystems. The eastern Himalayas temperate forests that grow at elevations were the most temperate. Because why? Our temperature, we have the temperate forest, and ecologically we are very technically, we are very perfect till now. Lot of species are there, dominant broadleaf evergreen, broadleaf trees are there, lot of land species are there. Overall, more than 175 species of mammals and in excess of 500 species of birds are there. That is found in in this region. That is WWFN ICI Mod 2001, according to this report. The mammalian fauna in the lowland is typically Indo-Malayan, consists of langurs, wild dogs, sloth bear, boar, several deer such as munjaks, sambar. All these are found in our this 5 different big corridors of ecosystem profile. So the biodiversity of Eastern Himalaya region is very important, and globally it is very important. Till now it is not disturbed, and we have to be very careful not to be disturbed this ecosystem. It has been included in the Earth's biodiversity hotspot, that is according to Mayer Sartel, includes several global 200 ecoregions. So our this Eastern Himalaya is included in global 200 ecoregions. Means ecologically we are very diverse. 2 endemic bird areas. We have the 2 endemic bird areas are there. In Assam part 1 is there, where every year thousands of migratory birds are there, and in another part it is there. And several centers for plant diversity. The Eastern Himalayas are also exceptionally rich in biodiversity, requires a brief overview and analysis of its geological history and ensuing biogeographic patterns to save the research-rich biological resources. We need to save them. So at last conclusion regarding this topic, a healthy ecosystem has a lot of species. It's less likely to be damaged by this interaction. Natural disaster and climate changes, every species has the niche. We have the home in its ecosystem that helps to keep the system healthy. Our ecosystem is itself one of the stronger one. Just we need to interact them with our nature, with our region, with our places, with our forest, with our biodiversity resources. We need to be very careful that it should not be hampered because of the human activities, and we are responsible. So these are the some of the references for in-depth study into ecosystem that you can learn on. Different this references are there that we are using to study about the ecosystem, ecology, and all, how the ecosystem energetics they are running throughout this different systems and all. So different books are there and web nets are there, some reports are there, that from where I'm giving you this information. So at last I can say thank you and Catherine Sela, and for query or any type of, if you need any type of information or any query related to this, so you can call me or WhatsApp to my this number also. My email ID is there. Hopefully you have enjoyed the lecture, and thank you so much. Thank you, Nidup sir, Professor Nidup.
Thank you, Professor Arup, for taking your precious time in giving us, in sharing us your view on ecosystem and its dynamics.
So now you can on your audio.
Yeah, I think students, if you don't mind, Professor, I think our students might have some clarifications or queries or something more. So I would like my students to have some questions if they have. So even the faculty members, I think we have few faculty
Any
members.
question related to anything, you can ask me. So few minutes we have, I think. Already we have crossed 40 minutes level, 45 minutes.
Yes, sir.
And any question related to the topic, you can ask anything.
Even faculty members, I think you are free to ask. Students, do you have any questions? You can go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, Professor. You guys, students, any questions? You have anything that you need to know more? It can be even out of the PowerPoint slides. I think if
Yes.
I introduce, yes, who is this?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, Professor Nidup.
Yes, Arup. Yes, Professor. Yes, Professor Arup.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Thank
yes.
you all. If there is any question, you can ask within this 5 to 10 minutes. I think your time is also over. Yes, sir.
So I think I will introduce some of our faculty members here because they are already online. So can the faculty member put your videos on, because I will introduce one by one. I think we have two members in one view. I think there is one is Dawat Singh Tamang and the other one is Mohan. So can you introduce Mohan and Dawa?
Good morning, sir. I am Dawat Singh Tamang in the Department of Life Science and particularly to do with zoology.
Hello.
Yes, Arup.
Is it audible?
Yes, we can hear you, Mohan.
All right. Good morning, Professor, and good morning, all of you. Thank you very much for the presentation and the information on ecosystem. My name is Mohan.
I think you can
And
include your specialization, I mean your field as well.
all right. I am teaching zoology. And Professor, if you could hear, I have a small query, if it is audible. So just like my question, we know from this present, we have come to know that biotic and abiotic are the primary component of ecosystem. And
So, if there is any that questions are there, then you can share it to my email ID also.
Yes, sir. Yes. I think
Okay.
Mohan sir is asking you some.
Please ask Mohan.
Yes.
all right, thank you.
Yeah, that is sound is that audio is not coming.
Okay, sir. Then Mohan sir, can you text me? I'll text Professor.
All right. Okay,
Just
okay.
short one. I can directly send him. In the meantime, Sonam, you can introduce yourself if you want.
Good morning, Professor. Good morning, everyone here who have joined this session. I hope I can be heard. I am Sonam Tobge, currently working in Department of Life Science and Environmental Science. I've been here for around 9 years as a faculty and 3 more years as a student. I here in college most of the time teaching botany module, but I also get to teach some of the zoology cross-linked module as well, and I'm more focused on
Hello.
just like Professor Arup here for conservation biology. It's a pleasure and nice to meet you, Professor.
I think you can't hear us. Professor, can you hear? Chimi Choing?
Okay. This is from Dawa Sering Tamang.
Oh, you are
Okay.
here.
In terms of this, when we say about this COVID-19 breakout, okay, this is a very frequent topic. But till now, a lot of researches are going on. Okay. See here, the reason behind this is the human immunity is number one thing here. Okay, that immunity, immune system. So how do we get our immunity? Here we can see here, in any type of, it is the diet is our immunity. Okay,